free. So good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and today we have the band Locusts and Honey, and we have this, it's a two-man group, so we have Steve, who's the singer, and we have Penitent Whisper, who does everything else, the music.
Or Thomas, you can just.
Or Thomas. Well, it says Penitent Whisper there, so I'm like,
I think
hey,
this must be my Zoom name. You know,
that's your Zoom. Well, it sounds very metal. Like here comes the Penitent Whisper.
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, it's actually the name of another project I have, but it's electronic music. So, but it is very dark. It is very dark. So that's why the name's there. But I must not have changed it to my real name.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
okay. So it's Thomas and Steve. So first of all, how are you guys today?
Yeah, good. Thanks.
Very well.
Yeah. So the album, which is 28 minutes, and it's divided like in 6 tracks, but it's basically one long track. It's out tomorrow, the 24th. And I was listening to this album, and it sounds so menacing that when I'm looking at it, I'm like, I was expecting like some very menacing dudes. I would interview people with hoods, and they would be like, what is your inspiration? They would be like Satan. But
yeah,
but no,
not these days.
So
maybe when I was younger, but in my dotage. Yeah, we don't look, I mean, like I say, I'm calling in, I'm on a break at work, so I don't think I get away with it in the office.
You have to pay the bills.
So we all do.
Tell us a little bit about Locusts and Honey, because I saw that the project formed last fall. So tell us a little bit about the project and how you guys got together.
Well, Steve and I are friends. We've known each other for a very long time. Actually, go all the way back to school. But it was started as a project really that I developed last year. Bit of a bedroom project, and then I did all the music and stuff. I had some quite doomy, slow-paced, sad riffs that I wanted to use. I've been playing in some other projects, some black metal, some ambient music, some other stuff, bits and pieces. But this one, I reached out to Steve for because I know he's a great musician, and he's also, we have a sort of literary side to it, and I wanted someone who was going to write great lyrics, basically, and I thought I could trust Steve for that. So I reached out to Steve, and he's also the vocalist, but he's also a musician too. So I kind of got the music together and then sent it to Steve and said, add some vocals.
Yeah, no pressure, Steve. Just make stuff work with your, like, if the vocals are bad, it's all your fault, Steve. That's what he was gonna say.
Well, luckily we didn't. Yeah, luckily we didn't have that. Like I think I gave Steve a fairly wide brief. I think that the issue with this one was that I'd had this kind of concept behind it, the idea of the, around the bog bodies.
Oh yeah, I was reading that. Very interesting.
Yeah. So that was a sort of theme. So I had that to give to Steve, but that was something that he was sort of given as a conceptual starting point, as it were. Only on this project though. Like I said, now we've actually transitioned from being a bedroom band to a real, quote unquote, real band. So we've got a full lineup pretty much in place now. So things will be more conventional going forward.
Right. Yeah. So first you started like it was your project, but now you're bringing extra musicians. So tell me a little bit about the concept about these bog bodies, because I found that creepy and interesting at the same time.
Well, so for me, the idea came. So I'd always been a fan of Seamus Heaney's poetry, and he wrote some famous poems. Used the different bog bodies that were found in Ireland and in parts of Denmark as sort of, as a sort of influence, and a tool, a sort of literary device within his poems. I was actually in Dublin briefly and I was at I think the National Museum of Archaeology there, and there's an astonishing room with some of these bodies, the ones that had been preserved in the peat there, and for me it was just this incredible sort of memento mori thing, in the midst of life, we're in death, and these bodies perfectly preserved, and it has all the usual sort of, it kind of suits heavy music, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I had this loose concept, and I felt like it would suit the slower music that I was writing, and then I went to Steve, and he had his own take on it, I guess.
Nice. So you're at work now. So if HR calls you like, hey, Thomas is talking about like some bodies at work, like, it was an interview. Please don't get me in trouble.
Yeah.
So Steve, your vocals on this are, are quite menacing. Tell me a little bit about how you brought this concept to life, Steve, lyrically.
Well, I mean, firstly, it's probably the first band I've been in possibly ever where I've not had to worry too much about the music. It's just fallen into my lap fully formed thanks to Tom. So that was a new take.
Well, hopefully in the future.
Yeah. But I know it's kind of nice in a way. I could just listen to it, take the mood from it, and Tom had been talking quite a lot about the bog bodies and insisted. I read a few things about them as well. And it is fascinating subject. But what it got me thinking of, because these people were thought to have been it's been sacrificed, but it seems to have been it seems to be sort of socially accepted that this would happen. There's lots of mysteries around it, and the fact that these lives are sort of cut short and yet somehow preserved for the centuries. And yet the reasons why and the passions behind it were not preserved. We just don't know. Was the thing that fascinated me and sort of brought along a lot of the lyrics. I do put I do tend to put some personal stuff in there, but it's usually framed in a more sort of impenetrable way.
Okay, yeah, and the album title. I thought it's very interesting, but it's also like kind of like a tongue twister. Teach me to live, that I dread the grave as little as my bed. What the fuck, guys? Wow. What does this mean?
Well, Tom's picking it up.
Yeah, so I plucked it out actually. It's actually from a Victorian hymn, I believe. And I saw this phrase actually used in a Thomas Hardy novel, and it struck me. I think, yeah, this is sort of high Victorian sort of. I don't know if it was Methodist teaching or not. I should do a bit more research onto it, really. But it was really. I'd had some issues actually with sleeplessness, and that's why it struck me. This idea that I think, in its original intention, being closer to God, one goes to bed not fearing, if you don't wake up, then you wake up in heaven. But I quite liked that phrase. I don't know why, it just struck me, and it bore some resemblance to the bog body theme. But more than anything, perhaps I shouldn't say it, but it just looked kind of cool to me, and it was something I'd picked up from some of the reading I was doing at that time. So
again, it also gave me. I'd say it also gave me the further idea of talking about the sacrifices and what it means to live a good life, like before death.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's a good thing that we don't live in a life, at least where we're from, that we're sacrificed and put on display. But that stuff still happens, and reading about it, I just thought of Game of Thrones. This is like some Game of Thrones type stuff here. So the title, it's a cool title. It grabs your attention. So Thomas, you're also a photographer, and you took some photographs that you use for the promo. So I'm going to show one of the photographs. So this is a real cool photograph. Tell me a little bit about like this photograph, man.
Yeah, so basically, I went on a trip last, I think it was, the end of last October actually, to the Isle of Lewis in Scotland, which is in the Outer Hebrides. It's a very remote sort of wilderness part of the UK, and there aren't really many but there's an ancient stone circle there, the Callanish stones. I'd actually visited there as a child, but this time around I thought it would be great to take some cameras along, and I actually took some Super 8 footage. You can see the video that we made for the track Leathern Cord. Yeah, so it was kind of the idea of, you know, something like a kind of, I thought it would make an interesting photo shoot, taking the photos up there because of the remoteness of the place. Chances are I'd never probably, well, I wouldn't be visiting there again in a hurry. So I did a bit of filming, and I got a friend who I'd gone there, and we camped out and stayed in a bothy. And he modelled for me. So hence the cowl, the cloak,
Yeah.
the robes. Yeah, to just give it that kind of metal feel, basically.
Oh, yeah.
And we hadn't really done a photo shoot or anything, so that's why we kind of wanted to use them for the record.
Yeah, it's a great photo. Will those photos be in the record?
So the record it does have some photos that I took there. All the photography is from that shoot rather. And there's a limited edition zine that I'm doing. So with a lot more of the images that I took way too many when I was there. So I took a lot of analog images, and so I put them together as a kind of photo zine. I think is coming with 30 of those for the limited run with a t-shirt. So
Nice.
there's a few more photos there, but I you know, at some point hopefully we'll be able to use some of them like on our Instagram or something. So I don't want to, you know, that you know, I took the images for people to see. So
Yeah, it looks cool. And the first thing I knew is like, this isn't Stonehenge, because I went to Stonehenge and there was like a back road next to it, and it was Silker.
yeah,
So
no.
it looks
This is
cool.
far more remote than Stonehenge. Yeah,
It looks sinister, and you know, you
yeah.
have the guy in the hood looking down, and I'm not. I think that this is what he's thinking. Where did I
Yeah.
put the car keys?
Well, I did all the driving on this actually. So
I'm like, where are the car keys? So
he got lucky. He got lucky.
It's a great.
I mean, luckily we were undisturbed for the when we were there, but there's some people did come along at one point, and I think they thought it was something out of Star Wars or something, like a reenactment. But
I would think more Lord of the Rings than Star Wars.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
That would suit me better.
Yeah.
Black Mass, maybe, you know.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the album is 28 minutes, and the longest track is Leathern Cord, which is the second track. But is this like one song that you divided in parts, but for the clarity of like you put like different names to it?
Yeah, so I started off and it was basically essentially in a half hour's worth of music, or 28 minutes. And it became apparent that breaking it up made more sense, made it more palatable for listeners and things. So I think there are very defined parts. So whether they work or I like the fact I feel like we try and have this kind of vaguely cinematic quality. So I like tracks kind of segueing into each other and being joined up somehow. But I think as soon as Steve was looking at it from a lyrical perspective, it became quite clear that there were these two more conventional song parts. So we broke it down that way. So I'd like to think you could take it both ways, separate tracks or a whole.
It's very atmospheric. And the name of the band, I like it, Locusts and Honey, because honey is something sweet and nice, and locusts are bad. Like how did you come up with that name for the band?
Well, so obviously, do you want to go, Steve, or?
No, you go. I mean, it was, you know, that was. I mean, most of this was your idea, and you brought me along. So
yeah. So it's like it's a biblical quote, obviously. Locusts and wild honey. But actually, funnily enough, the name was a project about 20 years ago. It's that long. I started a kind of slowcore project, kind of atmospheric indie project called Locusts and Honey. And the music wasn't heavy, but it was very slow and melancholy. And for whatever reason, I was struggling with a band name and thought I'd just resurrect it. And so that's why we're using it. Yeah, there's something, the word, I kind of like, something about, honey and drowning in honey or something, the slowness to it. Perhaps I'm being
That sounds like
tenuous there.
a Winnie the Pooh nightmare.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, locusts are a good source of protein. Yeah, there you go. So it was actually reusing the name. And what's interesting is actually the two guys I did that project with are now in the band. All these years later, I kind of reached out to them.
That's
Both
smart.
very good musicians.
You're like, I hope they don't sue me. Come to the band.
Yeah, well, yeah. See, this is So they're now involved. So that's great. So that's where it kind of was just I hate thinking of bad names, and sometimes it's good to just get it out the way rather than endlessly speculate on what you're going to use, right?
Makes sense.
I think in the end, the music you put out ends up defining what the name is anyway. People that end up associating the music with any kind of name, so the name sort of stops being relevant after a while.
Yeah, and it's very, the music is very atmospheric, because it's like Funeral Doom, but it's atmospheric. But yeah, it takes along and it's cool. There's a band called Bell Witch that they did an album that is one song that is like 1 hour and 20 minutes. So 28 minutes is that, and I remember I talked to one of the dudes in the band and I told them, if you play this song live, what do you do if you have to pee? Or it's 1 hour and 20 minutes, just one song.
Yeah.
That's like
I saw them play just the other week with Esoteric in London. And it's just the one. I think they just played the last record. That was it, and it was great. It was but you have to get in the zone. It's like a classical performance, it's funny because I used to play in kind of quite a heavy sort of post-rock band, and I think I quite like writing long songs or something. So maybe that's why.
It's in your DNA. So I want to show the art of the album.
Sure.
So here's the artwork of the album. Tell me a little bit about the artwork.
So yeah, I mean, it really,
it's a bug body.
The art, yeah, essentially, yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting that it has this. I gave the artist sort of carte blanche to do what they wanted here with this, and it has that kind of slightly early metal feel. Perhaps it wasn't quite what I expected, but I really liked it, and I really like there's a kind of simplicity and in the sort of the finer detail to it. It kind of has its almost Wicker Man, Iron Maiden feel to it, which was not what I was going for. But yeah, that's it really. It was I wanted a hand-drawn thing. So that's why it happened the way it did. So I don't know how, rather than sometimes, because I've often used my own photography and stuff, things I didn't want to go that way. So I kind of wanted something done by hand for this.
It's nice to trust an artist as well. Like you've seen their work and you go, all right, I like what I've seen so far. Here you go. See what you come up with.
Yeah. Totally, yeah. I quite like that in collaboration. You go, here's the music, have a listen. Here you go.
Yeah, it goes well with the music because it's bleak. It's like if you came with you something that was like too shiny, I'm like, did you listen to the record, man? like this is not a happy-go-lucky record. So you guys this is coming out tomorrow on this Friday, the 24th. And you put this record out with a Toronto-based label called Hypaethral Records. So tell us about when you were guys were writing this album. How long did it take, the full recording of getting this record put together?
So musically, I probably did it in a week. In terms of the recording, I had a fairly clear idea of how I wanted it to go, so I put it all together. And then there was a bit of a break, and I contacted Steve, and we recorded the vocals separately. We did them in one session, and then it was a case of mixing, really. So, so there was like a pre-mix done without vocals, and then we, obviously have to rejig things a bit when the vocals come in. So in all, I'd probably say you could call it about a week.
Nice. So now when the album is out, what are the immediate plans for Locusts and Honey?
So like I say, we've got a kind of full lineup now. So we're writing lots of new music at the moment. It's very exciting. and I think the plan is to kind of make us a sort of more, a real band, as it were, play live, record a whole album, and take it from there, really. So we're writing at the moment. This time round, it's not just going to be me, it's going to be lots of people, which I far prefer. Lots of new ideas. Yeah, so, Steve writes music too. So
yeah. So, but are you guys gonna are you gonna have some shows soon, or are you waiting for the band to work on new music to then do shows?
I think I would really like to play live, but I don't want to rush doing that. It has to be right. And I think we're slowly moving towards a live show. So yeah, it's really kind of bedding in the new members, getting a set together, getting comfortable. We're all a bit older. Everyone has a lot going on in their lives. It's harder to, it's harder to, find as much time for rehearsing as we did when we were younger. But hopefully we've got a committed lineup now, and it would be great to, eventually do all those things.
Yeah, it's adulting, man. It's overrated.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah, when you're young, you're like, oh, I can't wait to grow up. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time my kid said, I can't wait to grow up, I'm like, no, you enjoy your pudding.
Yeah.
And playing outside. No.
Yeah.
Adulting is not as fun as you think it is. So
I remember being young, and we would, and I think if we practiced four times a week, it wasn't enough. And now we're lucky if we can, But, yeah.
So Steve, are you looking forward to when you guys get to work on new music to, like collaborate and share ideas for the band?
Yeah, we've been pushing things backwards and forwards between ourselves, different bits and pieces, and demoing bits to each other. So yeah, it's gonna be quite exciting. I also like to get playing live again. I haven't played live for some time now, so yeah, that'd be good to do. But I'm really excited with the way everything's coming along so far. It's going a lot faster with these new guys than I'd even hoped. So yeah, promising, very promising.
Nice. So the album will be out. What physical formats can people get for this album?
It's going to be vinyl, and then there'll be a cassette too. I'm not quite sure on the date. It's going to be a different label, a UK label called Under the Dark Soil. But I'm not quite sure on the date yet, but it won't be too long.
Okay, I have the link here for the pre-order, so I'll share that so people can, if they want to pre-order the album, they can do so. So Tomás, Steve, I want to, thank you for taking some time of your day to chat with me virtually here on the couch about Locusts and Honey and your debut record, which is out May the 24th. And again, the record is called Teach Me to Live, That I Dread the Grave as Little as My Bed. It's a great time. It's almost longer than the record, guys.
Yeah. We'll see what we come up with next time.
Yeah, no, it's a great album title. So anything you like to say to the fans before we go?
Oh, please, just thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much the interview. And hopefully we'll have some more music for you soon. So yeah,
Nice.
thank you.
So
Thanks
people,
for having us.
yeah, until next time, this is Hector, the shield dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.